Welcome to the channel. Here we teach you how to go from powerful to unstoppable. My name is Devon Gall. I'm your friend and mentor in business, marketing, and sales. What if there was something that was even more powerful than all the sales techniques in the world that could get you to your outcome of making more money, of having a better life, of achieving more success? That's what we're going to talk about today here with the employee mindset versus the entrepreneur mindset. This was one of the key things I learned over a decade ago that changed everything for me. So let's jump right on into it. Let's start with the employee mindset. This is where, unfortunately, 90% of people, 95% of people, they're stuck here. And the sad truth is a lot of people don't get out of it. I was here, I started here, and it's not your fault. It's not your fault. We were all trained through school and through our parents who didn't know any better. They loved us, but they just didn't know any better. They were stuck in the employee mindset too, as you have to trade your time for money. Okay, this is the employee mindset. First thing an employee says is, I can't. Whatever it is, I can't do that. Employees love to blame others for their problems. Anything goes wrong, it's someone else's fault. Remember, every time you point a finger, you got three more pointing back at you. They reinvent the wheel. They think they know better. They think they got a better system in place. I was arrogant when I first started in my sales position. And my boss told me right to my face, he said, if you knew better, Devin, if you knew better, wouldn't you be on this side of the table telling me what to do? That hit me. That was like, oh, okay, maybe I need to take some notes. Maybe I need to humble myself, and because this guy's making more money. This guy's driving a nicer car than me. This guy's doing a lot more than me. Maybe I gotta learn. Employee mindset is all about withdrawing money from the bank account. They're aimless. They have no goals. They're just kind of exist. They don't have a plan. They don't have a dream. They don't have a vision. Maybe they have some daydreams or something, but they've never wrote it down. They've never had like an action plan put in place. They want work-life balance. I've trained hundreds of people in the last decade to do sales. And how many times I've heard people that want work-life balance. The truth is, if you want work-life balance, you're going to be chasing that work-life balance for the rest of your life, and you're going to be working for the rest of your life. So is that really, really what you want? Is a work-life balance? They don't learn from their mistakes. They keep repeating the same mistakes over and over. It's like they're unconscious. They know they made a mistake, but then somehow it just like deletes and they just keep repeating it. Job security is the most important thing to them. Meaning they're reliant on someone else. They're reliant on some other business, some other person to take care of them. Right? That's called learned helplessness. They know everything already. Right? That goes back into reinventing the wheel because they already know stuff. They know so much. So they end up not taking notes. They end up not taking it serious. They end up not caring. And then the results start showing. They're always there to take responsibility when things go good. They're always seeking the comfort and avoiding the risks. External motivations, meaning this thing went right, this thing went wrong, and that's going to determine how my attitude is. If this thing goes wrong, my attitude's wrong or bad. If this thing goes right, then I'm happy all of a sudden. Rigid schedule, meaning they're not flexible, they're inflexible. They work the exact 9 to 5 shift. That's it. They're done. If you're starting a business and you got a 9 to 5, there's nothing wrong with working a 9 to 5 job. It's Now you got to run your own business, right? Now you're going to spend 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 hours after your regular job. Or are you on such a rigid schedule that at 5 o'clock it's done, it's time for Netflix, and that's it? Afraid to fail. If you're afraid to fail, you're afraid to take chances. All right? You're afraid to gamble. The only way you have high reward is through high risk. So that means you have to fail. You cannot be afraid to fail. A lot of the reasons people are afraid to fail is because they think, well, what will other people think about me if I fail? Well, one of the secrets, and we'll get over to this in an entrepreneur mindset here in a second, but success is just going from failure to failure with great enthusiasm. Success is not just an instantaneous thing. I think Jay-Z said it took him 12 years to become an overnight success, right? So that's 12 years of failing for him. Waiting for others to fix things. Sometimes not even bringing it up, just letting it exist, right? Just waiting for others to fix things for them. They're focused on the clock. You know, when's that 5 o'clock ring? When's the lunch? When's break time? That's all they're thinking about is, how do I get out of this? They want to upgrade their status. They want to appear, right? This is why Americans spent something like 120% of their income last year. Think about that. That's credit card debt. That's debt from the banks. That's debt. That's car loans. That's student loans. They spent 120% on average of what they earned last year. So what does that mean? They're getting screwed over with interest, right? They do exactly what's asked. Okay, that doesn't seem like a bad thing on the surface, but when you do exactly what's asked, then you're going to get exactly what you're worth. Correcting others, this goes into blaming others. An employee is very, very quick to correct someone else. They're always living above their means. They're, again, status upgrades, showcasing, trying to get other people that really don't even care around them to see and feel some kind of certain type of way, because that feels like that's going to make them like whole and complete. They dream their plans, meaning nothing's written down. Yeah, they might want to do this, they might want to do that, but they dream it. They dream about it, and it's fleeting. And there's no treasure map. There's no how do I A, B, C. How do I get from A to Z? How do I get there? Right? You got to have the treasure map for that. But if you're just dreaming your plans all the time, you're never going to do it. Points out the problem. I can't tell you how many people I've hired or worked with that are able to point out the problem. Guess what? It's not a special skill. 100% of people can point out the problem, okay? I can hire anyone off the street and they are able to point out the problem. And they're reactive. Something goes wrong, they blow up, everything falls apart, they give up, they again, externally motivated, they're letting their emotions be dictated by other people and circumstances. All right, so this is what we got to break. These are the habits we got to break. And guess what? It's not going to be an overnight thing. This is going to take some time. This is going to take some training. This is why this list is so powerful, because now you can start identifying, well, oh, I have been doing that. For me at least, these were things I was like, oh, I was dependent on the job. I was dependent on being done at 5 o'clock. I already did know everything. I was arrogant, right? Didn't get me very far in life for a long time until I got into sales. So now, entrepreneur mindset. You started a business, things aren't going your way. You've been doing sales for a while, maybe you just started sales. You see other people succeeding around you, right? Because remember, if you're doing sales, you get paid commission. So in essence, any sales job, if you get paid any kind of commissions or bonuses, any sales job is like a mini business. So you need to be really grateful that this company has allowed you to come on board and run your own and kind of practice how to run a business on their dime, right? So an entrepreneur mindset, this is how you get out of this employee mindset. Because it's one or the other. There's no neutral ground here. And entrepreneurs say, I can. I can. Even if it seems impossible, even if it seems like something that's just too much, or I don't know how I'm going to be able to overcome this kind of thing. They just say, I can, and they keep working on a solution. They blame themselves, right? Because when you blame others, you can't fix other people. When you blame yourself, there's no one to change but self. If you change yourself, you can change your outcome, you can change your life, you can change your circumstances, you can change everything. When you blame yourself, now I'm not saying sit there and get down on yourself and beat yourself up over and over and over about it, because that's not healthy either. But you identify, hey, I'm not going about this the right way, or something went wrong. I'm going to take extreme ownership of it. If you haven't read that book by Jocko Willenick, check that book out, Extreme Ownership. No matter what goes wrong, it's always your fault. You blame yourself because this gives you all your control. You draw all your power back into yourself and say, it's up to me. I can fix this. I can fix this. I can change. They have a system. There's a system that they learn from someone else, or there's a system that works and they follow that system and they use that system because that's what sales and business and being successful really is. It's just doing something over and over that usually is pretty mundane, and doing it over and over and over hundreds of thousands of times where it becomes second nature, and then that's what sets you apart from everybody else, because you're willing to do that. You're willing to do all the little things that everybody else is just like, I don't want to do this anymore. I've heard so many people that were, they tasted success, they had some big paychecks, they used the system, but then they're like, oh, I just do the same thing all day, every day. I'm just in the same place every day, all day, all day. I'm like, that's how it works. That's how it works. That's why the big bucks are there, because anyone can do it, just most people don't want to do it. Entrepreneurs deposit money, they're growing the business. Right? They're growing the business, so they're depositing money. They're not withdrawing money all the time. They have goals, right? They have a chief aim that they're going for. I have a vision. I have a goal. I have it broken down. I have it broken down into 30-day, 60-day, 90-day steps. I have a forward-thinking mindset. Not just what I'm going to do today. I know what I'm going to do today. But I'm going to do that again tomorrow, I'm going to do that again. And I'm just going to keep doing that to hit my goal, to work toward my outcome, right? They're working toward freedom, not work-life balance. If you work your tail off and you outwork everybody around you, you have more options. You can do more faster. Do more faster. That's what entrepreneurship is all about, doing more faster. They're learning from their mistakes. They're learning from other people's mistakes too. They see what other people did as a mistake. They learn from that. They know better. They value self-security, meaning doesn't matter if I have this job or I'm doing this thing or I'm doing that. I have multiple options. I can go anywhere, anytime. It doesn't matter because I have the skills. You built the skills in yourself. So now you're valuable to the marketplace. That's what self-security is. If you get really good at one job and you just do one job really good, well, what happens when that business shuts down? Right? What happens when that business goes overseas? Now you got to sit there and learn to code or something, right? So student mentality instead of knowing everything. It's funny too, because the people that usually know a lot more than the people that know everything, they're still students. They're still learning. They're still saying, how can I get better? How can I improve my skills? How can I get that next skill? How can I get that next thing? How can I put myself outside my comfort zone to improve my self-security even more? They're taking responsibility when things go good or bad. And another one here is they don't really take responsibility for the good so much. They give their team the credit. If you're running a one-man business, one-woman business, okay, but you're pushing that outcome, that desired success outcome on your team. You're saying they did it, right? You take ownership of everything that goes bad. You never blame your team, even if it was their fault. That was really your fault because you didn't train them right, right? So they they want to share in the success, and they want to give out the success to the people that help them get there. And then they take full ownership of anything that goes wrong, so then they can fix it. They're seeking growth by taking risks. They're seeking growth by taking risks. Going down to that one, they're willing to fail fast and often. That's what an entrepreneur does. Internally motivated, meaning externals are irrelevant. You know, this too shall pass. Something goes wrong, something breaks, something isn't going your way. This too will pass. Circumstances change, circumstances are temporary. So they're internally motivated, meaning their willpower, their desire, their mindset, their themselves, well, who they believe themselves to be, is what's motivating them every single day. Flexible schedule. You stay till the job's done, and then put in some overtime too. Go on the extra mile. Remember, there's no traffic on the extra mile, they used to say. But having a flexible schedule, coming in early, getting the work done. I remember when I used to run my own business, and I had a big sales team. I had to do sales. I had to train everybody. I had to do the interviews. I had to do payroll. I was a one-man show. I had a team of like 10 people, but I had to come in early in the morning. So, you know, if I worked an 8-hour or 10-hour shift doing sales, I also worked an additional hour and a half, 2 hours, because I had to show up early, do interviews, build the business, do all these other extra things too on top of that. So having a flexible schedule was required for that business. And it's required for all businesses. Willing to fail, we already covered that. Fixes things themselves. Something goes wrong, okay, here's an opportunity for me to fix it. I'll just fix it, take care of it, be done with it. It'll never bother me. It'll never bother me. I will just take care of it. They're focused on the outcomes, the results. Maybe not this very specific outcome of, is this customer going to sign up right now? That's not the type of outcome I'm talking about. They're focused on the outcome of knowing that if I play the law of averages, if I talk to 100 people, I know 10 are going to listen to me and 1 or 2 of them are going to sign up. And then I'm going to make commission. That's the outcome. That's the results I'm talking about. So they're focused on the long-term results and focused on what they can do to get those results accomplished. They're always upgrading the business. They're making the business better, meaning personal sacrifices to make the business better, make the business more attractive, make the business bigger, all these things, more successful. Because they know long-term, thinking about it, the business is what's going to change everything for them. So if they take a little bit of a hit now, they take a bit of a hit now, right? Maybe they got to do some crazy things. Maybe they got to sleep on the floor or something. Maybe they got to live in a apartment that's not the Ritz, right? Maybe they have to live below their means a little bit so they can spend more money on the business, to build the business, to grow, so then they can live the life they want because they've set up the foundations. Going the extra mile, they're correcting themselves, right? Blame self, correct self, living below their means. You don't have to drive the new AMG. It's nice. But wouldn't it be better when 3 years of sacrifice, you just buy the AMG cash? Right? You get the nicer model. You get the better one with the LED package, right? So you live below your means now so you can live the life other people dream of or pretend to have by going into debt. They're planning their dreams and they have vision. Entrepreneurs have vision. They have an overarching goal for themselves and their family and their outcome and their business. And then they work backwards by planning it out. They're seeing the opportunity, not the problem. Anyone can see the problem, like I said. Who can see the opportunity? Well, very few people have actually trained themselves to do this. And guess what? Anyone can do this. Anyone can see the opportunity. It's just you have to train yourself to be able to see the opportunity. When things look dark, when things look bleak, Now you're in the best place ever to actually see a brand new possibility. They're proactive instead of reactive, meaning they've studied up. They know what to do. They know what it takes. They know, okay, this situation that I'm encountering, I already know what to do here. I've studied for it. I took notes. I was a great student. I've encountered this situation before. So they're proactive, meaning they're planning ahead. All right, if you got some value out of this, make sure to check the links below. I just started doing the sales and marketing course, and I've done a couple testimonials. I'll just tell you a quick story about this great kid I hired. He's 19 years old, and he dropped out of high school. When he first started in the business, he was making minimum wage, and he was a great student, but things were not working so great for him. So me and him worked together a lot. And now I think we're about a year, 14 months later since he started working with me. He's consistently bringing home $12,000 to $20,000 commission checks every single month. All right. So the system I've built to check out below is the same system I went through, the same system I taught him, and the same system I've shown hundreds of other people in the last decade I've been in sales and business.